Today's episode of The Girlfriend God is brought to you by New World Women, and today I'm joined by one of New World Women's co-founders, Dawn Morningstar. But first, let me tell you that as a founding member of New World Women myself, I believe in this organization. I think we are, as their slogan says, ready for better. And this is an organization that I see as having the potential for all women to be able to participate together in community, learning, profit sharing, and a whole host of other things. But I'm going to let Dawn tell you a little bit more about the organization before we get to the episode.
Well, I think you did quite a fine job. Thank you so much. In New World Women, what we say is that collaboration is queen. And we believe that it really is time for women to come together and support one another, let go of that old paradigm model of women being in competition. That is so, patriarchal. So we come together and like the two wings of a bird, New World Women expands women's awareness and personal freedom through learning, inspiration, like-hearted sisterhood, and more abundance in their lives. And then women get to take flight, self-empowered and free to share their gifts with the world. And we just believe, not just, I'm not going to minimize it, we believe that women really have a key to creating this new world of love, honor, respect, abundance, all of that for all of life and for our dear Mother Earth. So when women come together, it's a mighty force.
Totally agreed. And we are ready for better. For more information or to become a member, you can visit newworldwomen.com. And now we'll get to our episode today. Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you, Kelly.
Welcome to The Girlfriend God, a podcast in search of and in service to the divine feminine, bringing you an equal mix of academic research and emotional spiritual experience. If you enjoy this podcast, be sure to subscribe, follow, rate it, review it, and share it with your friends. Now, together, let's find the divine.
Okay. So, good morning and welcome to the season finale of the Girlfriend God podcast, season 4. Today, I am so excited to welcome Laura Hirch, who is an independent, conscious filmmaker, a journalist, and an artist. Her work centers around women, healing, spirituality, mysticism, and art. She calls herself a spiritual feminist, love that, and an eco-feminist, and both of these paths define her creative work. She studied journalism in Munich, where she was born and raised, and documentary filmmaking in Los Angeles. Laura is the creator of the independently produced 6-part docuseries From the Goddess, which investigates the central role of the great goddess in early history and modern times and explores the concept of her in many different aspects, from archaeology to social science, art, and theology. Its aim is to show women that we have played an important role in earlier societies, having been not only worshipped as the creatrix of life, but also the bearer of community and a source of sacredness. The emergence of patriarchy 6,000 years ago not only changed the role of women in society, but it also severed the connection to nature. Though through the matriarchal worldview, which is still upheld by Indigenous peoples today, we can learn to become better guardians of our Mother Earth once again. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
I am really so happy to have you here. And as I said before we started recording, I hope that this podcast episode will be a good promotional tool for you, especially here in the United States.
Yeah.
Because we need it, and we need this, and we need it now.
Especially now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I'm in the process of watching the whole series,
Mm-hmm.
and I do have a lot of questions, but let's start with the basics, which is,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, what inspired you to do this in the first place? Was it a singular event? Was it a calling? Was it an intuitive dream? What was it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I've been doing films about women, healing, mysticism since about 10 years. I first started myself with short films about women in the German-speaking yoga community because I was a journalist for Yoga Journal back then after my studies, journalism and media communications. And I had the wish to create little films. That was the time when Vimeo got a bit bigger and it looked nice, to put these little 5 to 10 to 20-minute films online. And I wanted to make bigger or longer films, but I thought I'm not at the level yet. So I decided, okay, I should really become a bit more professional. So I enrolled in a film course in Los Angeles for 1 year. And there I met a woman. She was my roommate, and she was in the art scene of in New York in the 70s, and she gave me a wonderful magazine about the great goddess, and also the book The Alphabet versus the Goddess from Professor Leonard Schlein. And that really kickstarted it because I had no idea about the figurines, about all of the herstory. I just, when I heard goddess, I thought about, I don't know, Diana or Athena, these
Mhm.
Greek Roman version of goddesses
Which is what
that
most
are
people
actually,
think of.
yes, that are actually the daughters, right, of the great goddess,
Right.
but also or the Indian versions, but I don't know, just the idea that women held an important role before patriarchy just blew my mind. And I mean, as artists, we always look for new projects, right? So this was like, it was just heaven sent or earth sent.
Hmm.
And yeah, I knew that I wanted to do it right away. But at that time, I was still working on a documentary about women's circles because I found that topic also super interesting, women getting together in these red tents, also in ancient times. And in 2020, I started finally with the research for the Great Goddess, and it took me 3 years. And I had a lot of time, of course, because COVID hit. We couldn't
Right.
travel, right? So there was a lot of time to do research, and because I was able to collect so much material, I decided to make a series and not just one film. Yeah.
So how did you go about deciding who you were going to do the interviews with?
Mhm. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the research in the beginning was not that easy because
Hmm.
in the beginning, you just don't have this you don't see the whole structure, let's say the infrastructure of the goddess community, the goddess world, which
Right.
is definitely there. But from the outside, it's just, I don't know, there were so many missing links. And well, I knew about Starhawk, Max Dashu, Vicky Noble, but then I really had to get more into it. And I mean, for example, the film God is Remembered from Donna
Hmm.
Reed was an important source for me because, I saw a few of these women already in there. Or, I mean, here in the German speaking community, I found it especially hard because they're not that out there. I didn't know even there were women that were doing this work.
Hmm.
So I really felt like I was like raking in, all this information,
Right.
um, one person after the other. It really took some time.
Right.
But most of my projects really feel very guided. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, of course, like once you get in there, then you find all the people. But I also find that there is also this moment of luck or destiny or like I'm being guided to the right persons.
Right,
That's
right.
really, yeah.
So the third episode with the four mothers, we've talked about that a little bit on the show, and I've had some of who I consider the four like I've had Max Dashu on the show,
Yes.
and I've had Devorah Gren on the show, and I've
Uh-huh.
had Glennis Livingstone on the show,
Yes.
and because I feel like the work that we do, like we need to suck up as much information from these women as we
Exactly.
can before they're
Yes.
dead.
Mhm.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Because all these women that came up in the 60s and 70s, I watching that episode made me sad that I was born too late for that.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
I feel the
Especially
same. Yes.
listening to them talk about like we didn't have to work, we didn't really need a lot of money, we just traveled to all these places, and
Exactly. Yes.
like, wow, what a life, what a
Yes.
life. And you know, and they all built successful careers out of that as researchers and filmmakers and authors, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I personally think it's crucially important to glean as much information because we don't have to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
right? A
Exactly.
lot of that work has
Mhm.
already been done. And in a way, I feel like technology has, I have a real love-hate relationship with technology, so I'm sure you do as well.
Yes.
It's both a blessing and a curse, but one of the ways in which it's a blessing is it makes things like Max Dashu's work very accessible.
Yeah.
And archives of like the Off Our Backs newsletter and these early goddess publications that were put together are widely available online.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the information for us researchers is there. And because it's kind of all culture, it's a lot of it is available for free.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because
Yes.
as a researcher, I'm sure you know, all the good stuff is hidden behind a paywall, which is
Yes.
why we have this kind of disconnect of, I feel it's why we have a lot of disconnect with women who don't know about these things, right? Like I know, you know, the women we interview know, but why doesn't everybody else know? You
I
know?
really don't know. I really don't know. I don't even know if it would be, crucial for them to be all on Instagram, even though so many of us of my generation are on Instagram.
Right.
It would probably be beneficial for them, but still, there must be other ways. So this was also a point for me to do the series because I knew I wanted to show them to, a wider audience. And also, as I said, I'm such a big fan of the Goddess trilogy from Donna Reed, and I wanted to show these women 30 years later, like what happened with them, what happened out of the movement.
I know that when I've had those kind of foremother figures on the show, they seem delighted with our generation doing the work that we're doing. Was
Yeah.
that your experience?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It was really beautiful also to meet them and to have this private time also with them to listen to their interviews, and also while I was transcribing it, of course, I had to listen to it over and over again.
Right.
So it really got deeply into my cells. And it's just wonderful to have this generation that we don't see on television so often.
Right.
That is in general not really present because, the situation about older women, they're just not interesting for patriarchy, right?
Right.
So, but we need their voices. We need the
Yes.
voices of people beyond menopause or past menopause, right?
Right.
Because this is
Right.
when it gets interesting.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, women of a certain age, as they used to say, were so easily discarded. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
was having this conversation with a friend the other day, um, and even though I'm an out lesbian and I'm married, I like to say my ego knows no gender,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Uh-huh. Sure.
but I was saying to her, I was like, we are over 50 and overweight, and
Ah,
that
yeah.
means that we are largely invisible to a
Yes.
wide swath of the population, including other women,
Yes.
you
I
know.
know. It's so enough. Uh-huh.
Um, and there has to be a way. I feel like there are so many cycles that we need to break through, right? Like you said, I mean, this is where we're at
Yes.
after 6,000 years. And even when I
Yes.
tell women that don't know anything about the goddess, the
Hmm.
patriarchy can really only claim the last 6,000 years, but goddess worship goes back 30,000 years. They're
Yes.
shocked by that. And they're
Yes.
like, well, that's what you believe. And I'm like, no, there's archaeological and anthropological evidence to that supports that.
Yes. And I feel that is really an angle where you can get a lot of people when you tell them patriarchy is really not that old, because so many people are really interested in patriarchy at the moment. They are not that far into the idea of matriarchy yet, but they know
Right,
it is something's really, really wrong. And at least they have the word now for it, right?
right,
They want to
right,
know more about it.
right.
Yeah.
And the conversation that I've been having a lot recently with women is to be educational about the language that goddess worshipers use, because
Yes.
for most average people, when you say the word matriarchy, they immediately assume that it's the opposite of the patriarchy.
Hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's not
Yeah.
what it means. It's an egalitarian society. It's an
Yes.
equal society. Although when we talk about matrilineal society, then of course yes, that means that women have more power and more money and more property, but that doesn't mean that they're then acting like the men that currently have more money,
Exactly.
more property, more whatever.
Well, I'm
So,
studying actually modern matriarchy studies at the moment with
mhm.
Dr. Heide Göttner-Abendroth. I started this year.
And she's in
And
the film, right?
yes, she's
Yeah,
also in
yeah.
the film. I visited her, and I mean, she deliberately uses the term matriarchy. She doesn't use matrilineal anymore or
Mhm,
matrifocal because she feels that it distracts the people.
mhm.
So she uses this term and tries to tell people it doesn't mean women, now reigning over men. It means mothers at the center, matriarchie, right? Archie,
Right,
which just
right.
means at the beginning in the center, really. So yeah.
I recently read, I know my memory is not going to serve me very well, Women at the Center, which was written by an anthropologist named Peggy Sanders about uh, about a matriarchal society that she went and lived with in,
Hmm.
I want to say, in Indonesia. And that's the other
Hmm.
thing. People are always surprised when I tell them that. I'm like, there are these cultures that are surviving elsewhere in the world
Yes.
today.
Yes. Yes.
And
I even have the book here from Heide. This one's about, I mean, it's a German one, obviously, right?
right,
But she has them translated. And this one is about East Asia, the Mosul, for example, in South China, or
right.
the Minangkabau, which are in Indonesia. These
Mhm.
are the most famous, I guess. Yeah. There's so
So it
many
is,
of them
so
still.
it is possible.
Yes. Yes, and we need to study them. We need to make them more popular to show this is really this is the line. This is just these are the daughters of the old matriarchies, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, that sounds like an idea for your next docuseries.
F- Yes, I'm actually working on the second season already. And
Okay,
there's one film that's gonna be specifically about matriarchy, about the
okay.
topic. Yes.
Yeah. And then you get to travel to all those
I hope
places.
so. I hope so. We'll see how it goes with the funding.
Right, right. That's always the
Hmm.
thing, right? That's why
Yes.
I don't get to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's not so easy to get them.
So are there any, so I don't know about how television production works or anything like that, but is there any possibility that in the future you can uh, shop that docuseries out to networks like Netflix, just as an example?
I don't know yet. I mean, I was really specifically working on this topic completely independent because I know
Mhm.
that there's so many voices against it. So also, I wanted to do everything on my own to be really independent.
Right,
Because filmmaking is expensive, all these travels, these journeys that I had. So many people came to me and told me, "Oh, you should bring this on television." And I mean, I don't really know if the quality is there yet because, for example, Netflix, they want to have the film shot on a very expensive camera. Like there's many regulations.
hmm,
But in general, yes, I mean, I would be up for that, because I want to bring out this knowledge even more. But in the meantime, I think for me, especially as, I don't know, a woman of 37, I have worked in production companies as the production coordinator, but like I would never have been allowed to go and do my own films.
right, right,
I mean, I would, but it would have taken me even more years, and just working on film for other people, and I didn't have the time.
right.
I don't know. I don't know if you're into astrology. Like I have my MC in
Oh,
Aries. Like
yes.
I don't have the time. I needed
Right,
to
right,
really start. And I'm really happy to see that with with what I like, I could do all of it myself. It's
right,
not the highest Netflix quality, but I got to do it, and I'm selling it now independently, even
right,
on
right,
Vimeo. So for women in the filmmaking industry, which is also very, very patriarchal still, I think this is an incredible opportunity that we're having now to really following our ideas, our visions, and manifesting them in this way.
right, right.
So it would be lovely to have an even bigger audience, but I feel it's really up to me now to, I don't know, really put in more effort in the marketing even and
Right.
finding out new ways how to distribute it.
So with a docuseries as opposed to a film, are
Yeah.
there, I assume there are similar to film, that there are festivals that you could
Yes.
enter.
Hmm.
Um, is that's a thing, right?
That's a thing. Yes.
Okay.
That's a thing. And I mean, for example, speaking about streaming pages, there's Gaia.com, right? Which is
Right,
really like the spirit to Netflix. That will be,
right.
for example, an option where I think it would be a very good fit. But yeah,
Yeah,
film festivals and then, I mean, in the German speaking countries, I'm traveling at the moment. I'm showing either certain episodes or I'm showing excerpts and like I'm sh telling a bit about my film journey and about the goddess in general because most people here have no idea. When I ask them about the Venus of Willendorf, blank, they have no idea. And like,
right,
if you don't know her, then you don't know the others, right? Or
right,
for
right.
example, this is the Venus of Hohlefels. I'm sure you know her,
Yes,
right? Like
yes,
she's
yes.
40,000 years old. She's from Germany. She's a central figure in the episode number 6.
Okay, okay.
And I mean, people don't know her. So I feel I'm still doing field work here, really, and
Right, right.
educating them. So
I
that's fun.
wonder if and I don't know anything about how this works or how people get invited or if people submit to be included in the programming, but I wonder if your docuseries would fit in well with the Parliament of World Religions, because this past year, so I've had Dale Allen on the show who did the film. I don't know if you're familiar with her or not. She did a film called In Our Right Minds,
No,
um,
to write that down.
which I think you would enjoy that.
Uh-huh.
Um, Dale Allen did a film called In Our Right Minds, and as a result of that, she was invited to the Parliament of World Religions. And
Ooh.
over the 3 or 4 days, she was able to she did a short podcast series where she set up a booth and did these little mini interviews with women from different religions from all over
Wow.
the world. It was really something.
It's a good
And
idea.
Dale Allen is also an independent filmmaker. Maybe I should introduce the two of you. You might have a lot to talk about. But
Yeah,
anyway, that's
yeah. I mean, just in general, also to everybody who's listening, if you have ideas how to show this film series, you can, contact me because I'm very interested in ideas. I'm very interested in new forms of making community, actually. I had a woman from Canada. She's actually living in Sicily now. She started a knowledge series with women from all over the world. They met once a week. They watched the episodes independently and then they met once a week and we were discussing about it, which is incredible. This is
right,
exactly how I would want this film to be. And
right,
also, the women purchased the series and they purchased also like the talk situation from this woman. So both of us there was also a second woman, her co-host,
mhm,
like all the three of us, we were supported financially, which is incredible
right,
because I know that the films, for example, they're also being shown at women's circles for sometimes, which I love, but then there's no financial support coming back to me. So it's like,
right,
in
right,
this case, it was wonderful. And I also, I was also taking part on the last day and answering questions for these women. So that was incredible. That's really my favorite form of educating,
right,
coming together
right.
in circle, in virtual circle. Yes.
Just while we're talking, I'm having a few ideas of my own. Like, not that based on my own experience, not that I anticipate people flocking to the aisles since I live in the
Hmm.
middle of the cornfields in the Midwest. And even though I live in well, so here's the thing. So I live in the Midwest.
Yes.
It's very conservative, but not
Hmm.
so conservative. But Illinois is, I don't know how much you know about the states, but Illinois is only a blue state because of Chicago.
Yeah. I heard about that.
Were it not for Chicago, we would be a red state for sure.
Hmm.
But in every state, there's always a college town like ours that has a lot
Hmm.
of kind of liberalism built into it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you drive outside of town in 10 miles in either direction, you're in trouble. But in here, since we have international students from all over the world,
Yeah.
primarily from Asia, uh, yeah, let me look into some things. Because, like you
Looking
say,
forward.
women can, like, you'd have one woman purchase it and show it to 10 other women, but that doesn't really have any
Yes.
financial reward coming back
It's,
to you, which you need to do more
yeah.
work, right?
It's like a slippery slope because I mean it's the same with music, right? People on Spotify, like the creators, they get pennies for it. But in
Right,
this
right,
case, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm also women of the community,
right,
so I think we all want to support each other.
right.
So I have this idea, like I have this license now that people can also purchase where they pay like €5 per person. If they have
Mhm.
women's circles of 20 women, so this, I think it's a fair option for all of us.
Right, right,
Yeah, and I mean also the situation about film in general, it's an art form. You can get all kinds of films on Netflix for $10 a month. So there needs to be a new appreciation for that topic, right? I mean,
right,
for example, I find this series is so unique because it's very niche. It's like
right,
I did it for the goddess community. I also did it for all the other women who have no idea about the goddess, of
right,
course. But I
right,
also made it for the goddess community to show them, look, these are your heroines. These are the foremothers. You know, of course you can listen to them on podcasts and so, but then seeing them in video, exactly what you're also doing,
right.
I think creates a special bond, right? Yeah.
So the episode before this one,
Mm-hmm.
that hasn't come out yet, it'll come out the week before yours, is with Dawn Morningstar, who's one of the co-founders of an organization that I belong to called New World Women.
Uh-huh.
And I think that that might be a good fit for you. I don't want to get too much into
Thank
it in
you
the
so
middle of the
much for
episode, but
brainstorming.
no, I see how
Really
that could
appreciate it.
benefit
Yes.
you. It's a, you know, it's a monthly membership, but
Mm-hmm.
you do get, you have the potential to have financial rewards as well, because it's kind of a
Wow.
profit sharing thing. Anyway, I'll talk to you more about that, like in an email, or I'll put you in touch with Dawn or something. But
Thank you.
because then with that platform, people would essentially pay to take a class, but you could do a
Mhm.
series of classes and do like an episode per class, and then talk about it
Mhm.
afterwards.
Lovely.
And I think that those kinds of, these kind of, and their motto is collaboration is queen. So it really
Wow.
is about women supporting each other and bringing
Yes.
them, and essentially making sure that we get paid for what our actual gifts are, rather than,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's throwing away the mold of the 9 to 5, and we all have to hustle. And I mean, I don't know how it is there, but I'm sure that you know enough about the United States to know how it
Oh
is
yeah.
here.
Oh yeah. I
All
know.
these
Yeah.
systems that talk about the patriarchy is alive and well in the United States, and I think one of those kind of embedded in our culture for so long, it's so normalized, is this: we have to produce, we have to create, we have to make
Yeah.
money, we have to have security, we have to hustle, we have to, you know,
Yeah.
and women don't realize that that is a patriarchal structure,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah. And
just
you
the
don't have
norm.
healthcare system and stuff like that. I mean, I know it's hard for US Americans, especially. I know it. And I mean, the rents. Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah. But everywhere. It's just gentrification is everywhere. Like there's so many, the costs of living, the costs of energy, all of it. It's yeah, but you see the patriarchy crumbling in a way, right? I mean, there are these
yes,
other factors where like, oh, the patriarchy is still alive. Well, yes, but there are so many things happening simultaneously, I feel,
right, right.
right? And also like I feel women are really rising. You can feel that. It's
Yes,
so powerful.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. I think that's why I try to remain optimistic, because I do think that, and I do know a little bit about, I have my very close friend is an astrologer, and
Yeah.
so we talk a lot about seeing the world view through that
Mm-hmm.
lens, and I listen to a lot of people who talk about things like spiral dynamics and evolution of human
I love
consciousness,
spiral
and
dynamics. Yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so I do feel like we're at this kind of boiling point, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
periods of great change are always preceded by periods of great chaos.
Yeah.
And right now we're in the chaos,
Yes,
which is
definitely.
evident. But I do think that what's on the other side of that is where we're starting to see these cracks, that the patriarchy is failing,
Yes.
capitalism is failing, government is failing,
Yes.
religion is failing. All of these structures that all of us have had in place our whole lives are kind of falling away, because we can't continue on this trajectory. It's not sustainable,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that you talked about, and I don't, and I think it was in the Foremothers episode. Um, I think it was, maybe it was Vicky Noble, or maybe it was somebody else that talked about this kind of division that happened. And I see this in the goddess community today, right? Where you have this uh, feminism and spiritual feminism,
Mm-hmm.
but then they think, she said something like, they look at the spiritual movement and think, oh, well, you're just not doing anything. You're just meditating into all your woo
Yes.
woo and your new age crystals or whatever, but you're not really in the fight if you're not doing anything. And I think that the more awareness there is about goddess spirituality, the more we can kind of bridge that gap,
Yes.
right?
And I mean, the goddess herself, sorry, she is so political, right? Because she is, I
Right.
mean, God or religions are still like the highest institutions that are keeping us really down. I mean, of course, you have corporations and all of it, but in so many countries, religions are still so strong. So just believing in the goddess, just researching about her story is just that is spiritual feminism already. I
Right.
mean, it's the highest form, I think.
Right. Right. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's incredible, you know. Finally we have or not I mean, we have really such an important knowledge that we can I don't know, just that we have to spread. It's just important because I feel much more safe now that I know our history. I feel like I belong, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
everything is expanding.
I've considered, and I don't know what this would entail because I've never started a coalition or an organization before, but
Yeah.
I have considered starting some sort of organization that seeks to, because I have a library and information science background,
Hmm.
and LAM, which is libraries, archives, and museums, kind of as a whole industry, one is still very male dominated, especially in things like archives and information technology and all of that. Um, but two, because people in those sciences, we're supposed to be impartial. But just like journalists, we
Yeah.
still have a soul and an opinion, and sometimes it influences decisions we make, whether we know it or not, right? This kind of
Yeah.
unknown inherent biases that we have. And particularly in archives and museums, people that make decisions about what something is called or how it's labeled or how it's categorized has everything to do with the even sometimes inadvertent suppression of goddess history. The
Mm.
best example I have of that is here and elsewhere in the world. If you go to a museum and you see a figurine that you clearly know is some symbol of the goddess, the little information placard will just say, woman holding gourd with antlers or whatever. And
Yeah. Or
that that's
fertility
not
figurine.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I've toyed with having an organization that looks at things like that uh,
Hmm.
in the United States and saying, how can we change that? How can we make people in the profession more
Yes.
aware of what they're looking for and what they're looking at and how it
Yes.
should be cataloged or categorized or described in a museum placard or you know what I mean? Because I don't think that that's happening with malice necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just a lack of knowledge.
Yes, but I think that there's also a bit of a like idea of blasphemy still, you know, with
Right,
like maybe it's you know subconscious, but I think it is
right.
because even saying God is so weird for some people,
It
and
is.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on this topic for sure, but I think in general, just using the word goddess more often would help.
Yes.
And if they would even write female figurine, that would probably help already, right? But
Right, right,
then they don't even write this, or they always use fertility, and it's so annoying if they even show the female figurines, right? Because
right,
there are
right,
women in the series, they say there is actually so many more figurines that are just in drawers in the back of museums
right,
sometimes. So you
right,
don't even see these figurines.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. So, what were some of the most interesting things that you learned
Hmm.
doing the documentary series?
Hmm. Well, I mean, just, being able to do all this research was incredible, mind-blowing, of course, and it really kept me going because I was sitting there on my little laptop for 3 years straight. I mean, especially the last year, I was just sitting there every day
Hmm.
from morning to evening. And I I just felt like I felt this pull. I needed to do it. I really needed to. I just couldn't stop. And like everything else in my life, relationship, friends, vacation life was just, falling behind because
Right,
I had this clear vision. So it was also lovely to see, wow, like what I'm actually able to deliver, right? Just for myself, just see, okay, wow, I don't have to be so insecure all of the time because I can actually really um, work well and establish something and not just be in a production company as a production assistant, but like
right.
really do stuff. So that was one point. Then, of course, meeting the foremothers was just a big, big honor. It was incredible, really, to meet all of them. I didn't meet all of them, of course, but like a fair
Right.
amount. And particular moment was also very touching when I was in Malta, and I was at a few temples. I wasn't allowed to film at all of them. It was pretty expensive to get a film permit, even for one temple, and I had like 1 hour and I had to be very fast and before it got dark. But that was really incredible, of course, to go on these pilgrimages, right? And
Right,
also
right,
being at the goddess conference in Glastonbury. I mean,
right.
wow, so
That's like
many priestesses.
that's a lifelong dream of mine.
Oh, yes. I hope you can manage to
Yeah,
or go there at Beltane. I heard it must be incredible too.
yeah.
Just, a little town filled with priestesses. How amazing is that, right?
Right.
Um, and it was there's so many points, I mean, also I always have this had this very big love for Maria Gimbutas from the first moment on
Yes.
when I heard about her, and then being able to travel to Vilnius, her favorite city, right, where she was born and then studied, and walking through the city and just trying to see it with her eyes, and also then receiving this wonderful archival footage from her daughter,
Yeah.
Shivili. Looking through these pictures, I mean, wow, it's just such a big honor. So it was really, I mean, it's 6 episodes, and it was just like a potpourri, of little
Right,
incredible
right.
experiences, and
Each
I feel
one could
blessed.
almost become a series unto itself,
Yes,
right?
yes. I mean, yes. I sometimes I felt bad, because I said, "Oh my God, there's so much more to cover," but you only have 80 minutes, or
Right,
what to
right.
do. And that's also why I thought I have to do a second season and then focus more on the different, continents, regions, countries, because I feel this series is maybe a bit more Eurocentric, which is a problem, I think, because of course we know that there is goddess figurines, or the mother is everywhere, right? But I had to start somewhere. And
Right,
for now, I couldn't travel that much because I didn't have funding, so I had to pay it on my own. So
right,
the journey to the United States was expensive enough.
right.
So within Europe, it's okay, you know how to travel economically after a while.
Mhm.
But yes, so I'm really excited also to go on journeys now
Right.
to other countries then.
Yeah, I find that in the United States, because we are such a young country
Yes.
compared to the rest of the world,
hmm
it's harder to, I don't know, there's less of a goddess culture. I mean, in different pockets, right? Like you have all these women that in California,
I
right?
think it's pretty big actually.
Which has the it
Yeah.
is,
hmm
but we don't have the history. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we don't
Yeah,
have the
you have to
ancient
come to
ruins that
Europe
Malta
or
has, and
travel.
we don't have the ancient roadways of Ireland, or you know what I mean? Like we
hmm
have we have, I mean, America is, we have Native American history, which of course has uh, the goddess is in a lot of indigenous cultural stories and mythology and cosmology.
Yes.
Um, and witches have done a lot in the United States, right? I would say that's
Hmm.
probably uh, the biggest influence on people being even knowing anything about goddess culture is from the witchcraft, which was of course imported here from other countries, right?
Hmm.
Because we are an immigrant nation. So
Hmm.
um, I don't know, it's just different. It's different, and I'm envious of not having been
Uh,
raised somewhere in Europe and having ancient ruins that I can affordably go visit. You know what I
yes,
mean?
it's easier, definitely. And especially, I mean, you just said it, the pilgrimage culture. I mean, I actually learned in the United States. I mean, really, it really, I don't know, it really clicked, in my mind that we Europeans, we need to go back to the witch culture, to the indigenous culture that we also had. I think
Right,
Starhawk said in her video, she in her interview, she told me about Lila June, when Lila June talked about us European women really need to research the genocide, which was the Inquisition,
right,
and
right,
going even further back. And this was also a reason why I thought, okay, I have to make episode 6 about Germany, about the goddess culture in Germany, because I had no
right,
idea.
right,
Right? I mean, I was also someone who traveled to other countries for spirituality. I had no idea what was happening in Germany because also, we have the World War II, the Holocaust, which is just such a heavy layer where you don't want to go past, you just don't want to know too much about it. We know
right,
a lot of it, of course, we learn about it in school, but it's such a heavy burden. And then we have these other layers of the Inquisition, of the Enlightenment. There are so many yeah, so many layers of trauma that we have to
mhm,
go through in order to get to the goddess, the indigenous
right,
cultures.
right,
And then I learned about Goddess Holle, for example, who was in many, many countries, in the German-speaking countries. I had no idea. She was always, I don't know, like a figure that we learned, from when we were young, Frau Holle, which is like, sorry, I don't know the English word now. Ah, like a fairy tale, something like
mhm,
that. Yeah, the fairy tale about Frau Holle, but I didn't know that she was actually a goddess that goes back 5,000 years,
right,
has always been worshipped in this area, right? So yes, I think that that's probably also part for me what I think why goddess culture is so big in USA. That I think from my standpoint that it is big in the USA because we lack this knowledge of the indigenous European countries,
right,
or we want to
right,
know more about it.
right.
Yeah.
Are there sacred sites that you know of in Germany where all the German goddess worshippers go?
Yes, there are a few. I mean, I filmed, for example, at a place that's called Hoher Meißner. This is a not really high mountain. It's more like a hill, I would say, or like something in between. And this is a place where a lot of women live, around that worship the goddess. But then we have the caves where the Venus of Hohlefels was found, and many other figurines, because it was a place in the ice age that was not covered by ice, because Germany was, of course, the half of it was covered by ice, so we don't have too many figurines. Most of them are found south of the Ukraine down to southern France, right?
Right,
But we have like the Germanic culture, like Germanic tribes, and that was also interesting for me to know that even before the Inquisition, there were these women that were important in the society, Völva, Heidre, that, for example, Völva was a woman who was walking around communities. Like she had a huge stick and she was wandering, and she was like a messenger
Mm,
between the tribes. She had a very, important role actually. And no idea, we didn't learn about it in school. Just no information about it.
right.
Yeah. And there was one woman in the sixth episode. She's doing these hike tours with women to ancient sites. So yeah, there's a few more, I think.
Okay. Cool. I was going to ask you something else.
Do
So,
you want me to tell you about the certain episodes or?
if you'd like.
Mhm. I mean, you've seen the first three, you've told me, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, the first one is like an introduction to goddess in general, about my matriarchy. Then I talked with, for example, Dr. Heidegger Abendroth about the rise of patriarchy. I think she explained it pretty well.
Yes.
Then the second episode, yes, it's about Maria Gumbutas, about her life and work, because she's so important for the goddess culture, the goddess herstory. The third one is about the foremothers, which, I really like that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm also always interested in how communities form, about trends, about like social movements, spirituality, of course, in general.
Right.
So that was really, yeah, 2 and 3 were my favorite ones. Then we have the fourth was about the contemporary goddess worship. So I traveled to the goddess conference, or um, I introduced the Women in Spirituality PhD program from CIIS, which
Right.
is like a huge, people writing me like, wow, I had no idea you could study it. I really hit a nerve there.
I,
I
I've
had
I've
no
toyed
idea.
with that idea myself.
Wow, please do it. I mean, I would definitely do that if I
I,
had the
I would I
money.
would certainly need a scholarship since I'm
Oh
still
yes,
paying for
yes,
my
you would need
my
that. I
master's
think so.
degree.
Yes. And the fifth one is about the goddess and art, which is also very interesting for me. And I was so lucky because I got to film in Stockholm at Moderna Museum. Monica Sue, one of my favorite artists, she
Yeah.
had an exhibition there. I met with her daughter-in-law, Annie Johnson, and she was guiding me through the exhibition before it opened, which was incredible for me, of course. And the sixth one, as I told you already about, was then the goddess in the German-speaking countries. Yeah.
Cool. I really look forward to watching the rest of it. I
Yes.
just and I don't even watch it on my laptop. I hook it up to my TV
Oh, smart. How did you do
with
that?
just with an HDMI cable. It's easy.
Hmm. Okay, sure. That's yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
because people are asking me if there's like an Apple TV version of Vimeo or something, but sure, yes. Yeah.
yeah, just buy an HDMI cable. They're not very
Exactly.
expensive.
So smart. Yeah.
It's a must. My wife and I watch an admittedly shameful amount of television, and
Yeah.
so when we
Okay.
travel, we bring the laptop in the HDMI cord so we can hook it up to the TV in the hotel room.
Home cinema.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Because
great.
we don't miss anything. Um,
Yes.
so so what's right now you're resting,
Hmm.
and then what?
Well, I, even resting is hard at the moment, because I was on such a high level. I mean, the last episode, I was really like, editing the rest of it while I had fever, and like I was working for 36 hours. So I just like, I don't know, maybe it's my Venus and Capricorn, but I want to meet deadlines. I'm like really strict, like I want to do that.
I get
So,
that.
I
Venus, I have a Virgo ascendant,
aha, yeah.
so that's
So
yeah,
you understand.
I do.
Yeah, I was very meticulous. I was on a such high level, and I was really scared, that I would get a burnout in the end. But I think I was protected by just my love for Goddess. She
Yes.
somehow held me together. But I still try to work a bit less at the moment. But yeah, I mean, I'm already collecting, information for the next series. I have I like organized stuff, so I have like my thousands of files. And I'm also working on my carpet at the moment. I'm doing tapestry. I'm knitting the Sleeping Priestess of Malta. I'm knitting into a
Nice.
tapestry. And that's important for me because I'm so addicted to everything that is online, on the phone or laptop, that it's really hard to, get into this meditative state
Right,
anymore. I mean, I'm trying to do yoga again to calm down and not to be online for 1.5 hours. And then, the other hand situation is I'm trying to work with my hands.
right.
That's
Um,
important.
so how has doing this work influenced your own spirituality?
I mean, I've been spiritual, I think, deliberately since my teenage years. I started with astrology and then, with the Indian philosophy. I traveled to India and meet my guru, and I met Amma each year when she was world touring. But just I think just in general, the cycle of life has become a big thing in my mind now.
Mhm.
And connecting to nature in a deeper way, that is something that brought goddess. And of course, the whole herstory situation. That is, wow. I mean, it has enriched my life so much. And it has also given me such a new perspective on my artistic path, because now I can combine these two things even more.
Right.
Yeah.
And you said she was kind of holding you all together, and I'm sure that she
Yes.
is a part. I mean, I consider the
Yes.
things that I do in search of and in service to her, and
Yes.
I feel like my work reflects my or has a kind of feedback relationship with my relationship, my personal relationship with her.
Yes.
And and I spend a lot of time in prayer and meditation and feel like the longer I do this work, the
Hmm.
more intimate my relationship with her becomes.
Exactly. And trusting her, I'm
Yes.
always trusting her. And like when I'm scared of anything, I feel, yeah, she's gonna manage it for me somehow.
Right, right.
And also with the films, I don't know, I just, especially with the Maria Gimbutas film, I was feeling a lot of responsibility and pressure. And I told her, and I was also speaking to Maria, but I was also speaking to the goddess, and I said, girls, you have to help me. I
Right,
can
right.
push the buttons, but, I need ideas and please help me. And it worked out.
I got it. I got it. So, if you've listened to the show, you know that at the end of every episode, I ask all new guests the same three questions.
Mm.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So, question one, tell us something about yourself that people who know you would be surprised to learn.
Um, That's a good question. I thought about it already a bit, but I feel like I'm an open book. So people know a lot about me. I'm sharing a lot. But people who know me already and they don't know anything about me, right?
Yeah.
Um, I guess something that's new is that I'm really defining myself as a homie. I try to be very outgoing and stuff, but like I like to stay at home. That's one thing
Okay.
that
Okay.
that is actually my true in my core, and people didn't really know it because I was going out a lot before COVID, especially. But it was also because I had a big FOMO,
Uh-huh. Right,
but
right,
COVID really healed it, I have to say.
right,
Yeah. So
right,
yeah. Hmm.
right. I'm the same way. I mean, I'm
You
very
too.
much an introvert. I'm a social introvert,
Oh
right?
yes.
Which is which I tell people means I do well in social situations, but inside I really just want to go home.
You're
Um,
screaming. Yes, yes.
so,
Hmm.
so here it's like when COVID hit, I was like, this is not that much of an adjustment for me. So
Yeah,
I'll be fine.
yes,
I don't have to go anywhere or see anyone. Fabulous.
exactly. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so the second question is your current favorite television series or movie. Most people pick TV.
Okay. Well, I don't have a TV, so I mostly watch Netflix. And something that I have to admit is that I like to watch trash TV.
Okay.
I
We've
just
had a few of those
enjoy,
guilty pleasures. Yeah.
yes, but you know what? I mean, I watch reality TVs like TV shows like Real Housewives or Bling Empire or Selling Sunset, Buying Beverly Hills, and it's something, it's really not my nature in general. But what I'm doing is I am Googling the zodiac signs of the people on the show.
Oh,
And then I'm trying to see, like, okay, of course she would say that because she's a Leo, you know.
right.
I'm trying to learn with them. So, I
Okay.
mean, yes, it's a bit shameful, of course.
That's okay.
But I
So
love it.
do you have a current favorite?
Um, no, I don't have a favorite of them. They're all, these sort of shows, I would say. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I occasionally will indulge in the guilty pleasure of a bad reality show, and I've been toying with the idea of starting Jewish matchmaking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used to watch Wife Swap.
Don't know that one.
It was always very interesting. They would take families, like two very, very different families. Like, but my favorite episode ever was like this very pagan Wiccan family and this very ultra Christian
Oh my
family,
gosh. Oh, I would have
and the
loved to see
wives
that.
trade places for like a
Yes.
week, and
Perfect.
then they meet like to do a check-in, and they talk to the kids, and
That's how
it's
we learn,
it's a
huh?
fabulous show. I really enjoyed that show.
Wonderful.
Um, and then finally, if your life were a movie, what would be the theme song on the soundtrack? And it can be something German that I can't pronounce. I'll look it up later.
Of course, I have to say we all come from the goddess now.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense. And oddly,
And
one that hasn't been chosen on this
oh,
show.
really? Oh, I mean, it's the intro song, of course.
Yes, yes,
And I really enjoyed that there's so many versions out there.
right.
I love all of them. Um, yeah, it's just, I mean, I I even sing it to myself, sometimes.
It
I
is
think
all
it's so
encompassing.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and I had to write to see Budapest. I had to ask her for permission because she was
right,
writing the lyrics.
right.
Yes. And Lila, I think you would pronounce her Lila. Lila Goddess Music, right?
Mhm.
She was very generous also and was very supportive of the project. So I'm very grateful that she agreed that I could use it. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Laura. Well, I'm going to do that rude thing with Zoom where I'm just going to end the meeting and the screen's going to go blank and we're left staring at no one. But I
Yeah.
want to say I'm really happy that you came on the show. I was really excited
Mm.
to do this, and thank
Yeah,
you for
me
letting it
too.
be the season finale. I think that's a great season finale. We started with Karen Tate, who's
Oh, yeah,
also
I
kind
was
of
on
a
her show too.
foremother, and we will
Yes.
end with you. And it has been a
Wonderful.
very, very goddess focused season. So
Oh,
thank
lovely.
you.
I thank you so much. It's been a pleasure
And
to talk to you. Hmm.
and like I said, I'm going to be brainstorming about how we can get you out in my little corner of the world.
Thank you so much.
And I will be in touch. But until then, as always, I say, I wish you the peace and the love of the goddess.
Oh, thank you so much for you too, my dear. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening to The Girlfriend God. Don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, follow, and comment. Episodes drop every Saturday morning, at 8 a.m. And you can follow the Girlfriend God on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.